When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like Aloe or Allbirds, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and great marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling, and for shoppers, buying, simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does online business better than Shopify. It's home of Shop Pay, the #1 checkout in the world. You can use it to boost conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts going abandoned and way more sales going through to checkout. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/income, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/income to upgrade your selling today. That's shopify.com/income.
Hey all, I'm Jamie Lynn Sigler, a mom, actor, and advocate. I know how overwhelming it can be trying to decide which treatment is right for you. I've been there. But you should know you're not alone. You can do this. Start with some research, talk to the community, and most importantly, don't be afraid to ask your doctor questions. You might find results that speak for themselves. That's how I landed on Kesimpta. Ask your doctor if Kesimpta, ofatumumab, could be right for you. You can check out the details at kesimpta.com.
Hi, I'm Marcus, and I support GenXGrownUp through Patreon. You can too by visiting patreon.com/GenXGrownUp.
GenXGrownUp is a YouTube channel, website, and audio podcast you're listening to right now. All made for and by people who love exploring media, games, tech, and toys of yesterday and today through the eyes of Gen Xers who refuse to grow up. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up. Welcome back, Gen X Grown Up podcast listener, to this episode 191 of the Gen X Grown Up podcast. Mo always laughs. Big numbers scare him.
Big number every time.
It is a big number. I'm John. Joining me, as always, of course, is George. Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
You know it's not a show without Mo. Mo, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
In this episode, we head to the theater for the new horror film set in 1936 Mississippi, spend some quality time with a popular 1980s console, and play a comedy-adventure game full of puzzles, challenges, and charm. Those topics and many more coming your way in this episode. First, though, it is time for some fourth listener email. Look, the three of us are here. Several of us tend to listen on occasion, and if anyone else takes the time to listen and drops us a line to tell us about it, you are our fourth listener. And the fourth listener this time around is Jimmy. Subject line of Jimmy's email is Gen X handheld electronic games. Topic near and dear to all of our hearts. Let's see. Jimmy says, I was big on these games. I have recollected the ones I had as a kid with the boxes. I loved all my Tomy games and the few others I had before I got the Atari VCS. Now, most of them do not work now because the gears inside either get stripped or cracked, but I have them for the memories. Yeah, a lot of electromechanicals, that's the trick.
Yeah.
It's like the pure electrical, not too bad, but the ones that have the gears and the wires and the rubber bands that over time they die.
Just die, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But nice to have, certainly. Jimmy goes on to say, I noticed that Tomy seemed to be the king of these types of games. They were. The ones that I had were Blip, awesome. Mm-hmm. Digital Derby, Hit and Missile, one that I'm still dying to see because I've never seen in the flesh. I want to see it. And CompuBowl, one I don't even know. Yeah. Sounds like bowling. Yeah. It says, I also had Redline electronic drag racing and Coleco's electronic quarterback. To this day, when I go thrifting or antique shopping, when I come across an electronic quarterback, I always look at the battery compartment in case my name is scratched into it.
Wouldn't that be something?
Wouldn't that be great to find your original one? Oh, it's crazy.
It says it's $3,000.
Right. That's mine. You've got stolen property. Give me my shit.
Call the police. I'm not paying you $8 for that. It says, by the way, I'm now into 2022. He's been working his way through the catalog, so he's getting there. Good. Just finished the top 10 80s soundtracks and noticed my favorite did not make the list. My pick would have been the heavy metal soundtrack.
Oh, right. Okay.
I do not know if the movie would have been as good as it was without the pumping music throughout the movie. It's been a while since I saw heavy metal, but it basically was heavy metal. It was driving rock music throughout that thing, wasn't it?
Oh, big time.
Yeah, it was solid soundtrack. It's not that it wasn't a good one. I don't think it was as good as the 10 we put up.
Didn't make the top 10.
I agree. There you go. I agree.
There you go. He wraps it up saying, keep up the good work, Jimmy. We'll definitely try, Jimmy. We appreciate you. We love that you listened and took the time to write in. Look, fourth listener, if you would like your email featured here on the show, it is drop dead easy. All you have to do is fire off an email to podcast@genxgrownup.com. We read every single one, and most of them, just like Jimmy's, will eventually make the show. All right. With that good business in the rear view mirror, it's time to jump into the body of episode 191 after this very quick break.
Choosing a bottled Starbucks Frappuccino drink that's all flavor and just 100 calories? Easy. Choosing between creamy vanilla, double chocolate, and sea salt caramel flavors? A little harder. Try the delicious new Starbucks Frappuccino light drinks. Look for them wherever you buy groceries. Start with Starbucks coffee.
You're listening to Gen X Grown Up. But if you have a friend who's not yet listening, why not? Tell them about us. They'll thank you later.
Toot-toot, here comes the train.
Here's a toy both you and your kids will like. It's the Shuffletown Railroad. Kids love shuffling the little people in the train around town, and you'll like the fact that the pieces won't fall out. So picking up is child's play. And you can connect all the Shuffletown sets to create Shuffletown World. Kids can shuffle from the farm to the school and back to the train. And the pieces will stay all aboard, right, kids?
Hooray!
Shuffletown Farm, School, and the new Shuffletown Railroad from Hasbro Preschool.
Here we go. 191 episodes in. We're starting the same way. Jumping into media, talking about the things we have been watching since we last spoke. Now, this could be a television or film or books or comics or music or whatever. And Mo, I want to start with you.
Sure.
What have you been checking out?
I'm not going to bury the lead here. This was probably one of the best movies I've seen this year.
Okay.
And it was Sinner.
Sinners. Okay. Got it.
Sinners. I saw the preview for it. I was like, okay, Michael B. Jordan playing two roles. All right, whatever.
Interesting.
I've seen that before, right? Twin brothers set in South. I'm like, all right, whatever. Vampires. I'm like, whoa, what? Huh? Vampires. And it is an amazingly good movie. Michael B. Jordan just knocks out of the park. He plays his two brothers, but when they're separate, you know exactly which brother it is, even though they look the same, because he just played them so differently. Like, you knew, oh, that's brother this and that's brother this. You just knew just from as soon as he started talking. And the basic premise, and this is not giving anything away because of the trailer, him and his brother, they went up north from Mississippi. They kind of got involved with some gangs, stuff like that, but they moved back and they were trying to open a speakeasy. That's basically what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
So this is in the 1920s or 30s then?
The 20s or 30s, yeah. Definitely, I think Prohibition, was still kind of a deal back then. So they're going around and basically they're gathering, especially back then, you had to have good music if you wanted to draw people in. Uh-huh. So they're bringing in like their cousin and this other guy who plays a harmonica. I mean, but they're all like phenomenally good.
It's the Blues Brothers. They're getting the band back together.
Exactly.
With vampires.
Yeah, exactly.
Getting the vampire band together. Right.
And I don't know if you guys ever saw the TV show Rogue Heroes about the SAS, the forming of the SAS.
No.
Mm-mm.
If you haven't, you absolutely should. It's really good. But the person who's in that, actually, he's in this one. He's the head vampire and he's Irish, like thick Irish accent. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to give too much away in this because it's just that good a movie. I think you just want to experience it. Mm-hmm. But essentially, he's just trying to, he's trying to take over this, basically he's trying to get everybody. But basically, it's because of the music is really what it comes down to. Like that kind of what draws him there.
So I have heard a lot of buzz about this movie. And I wasn't really interested. And then the reviews started coming out. And I'm like, oh, now I got to pay attention to it because I just thought it was another random horror movie thrown early in the year that just to bury it. So what I've heard, and I just want to ask you, again, it's no spoiler territory. I haven't seen it, so I can't spoil it. And I don't want you, when you answer. But what I've heard is very interesting is people have said it's almost like two standalone movies. Like first there's this period piece about music in the South. And then like it takes a turn midway and then kind of becomes a vampire movie.
Sort of, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
But the thing is, the music still is in there. Like throughout the whole music is part of the whole thing. Like, even to the last scene, every single part. And then the way they wove it in, at first I was like, how is this going to work? It totally fits. Like it's so easy to suspend disbelief and just go with it because the way it's written, it's just so well written. And it's not like Cape Dracula kind of person. I mean, it's like a very different thing. And his motivations for doing it are very weird, unusual, but you kind of get it. There's a couple of things I really like about this movie. One, it's an original movie. Like the idea, the premise, even though vampires is not that big a deal, there's a couple other vampires taking over a club kind of things. But when you see this movie, it won't remind you of any other movie, really. It looks like it's a brand new thing. And after I saw the movie, he purposely said, this movie has a beginning and it ends. Like there's not going to be a sequel. This is one story. He says, this is it. Wow. I'm telling the whole story.
Depends on how much money it makes.
It's making a ton. He's sticking by his guns, the guy. Because basically he's done so many successful movies now also. He could already write his own ticket pretty much.
This was made by a team, right? So Ryan Coogler directs this. And Ryan Coogler and he worked together on on Black Panther on the original one. These guys have been tied to each other in the way that other directors and actors like Scorsese and DiCaprio or De Niro, right?
Right.
So those two guys, if you don't get them on board, you can do a sequel, but it's going to be awful. Crappy and shitty, and people are going to shit all over it. So if you don't get those two guys buy-ins, you won't get a real sequel to this.
Yeah. And it'd be tough to actually do a sequel because, like I said, the way it ends, you're like, okay, I saw the whole story. Like, you feel like I saw a whole story, and you leave feeling very satisfied. You know what I mean? Like, okay, this movie took a beginning and an end. Awesome. And it's definitely one I would definitely say see in the theater, if nothing else, just because the music is so good. And the scenes in the speakeasy, it's going to be hard to get that on your TV. So just try to see it in the theater and get that experience.
Wow. It might be hard to see it in the theater by the time this podcast comes out, because it's been out in theaters for a while, and stuff doesn't stay very long.
That's true these days. It's still doing pretty well in the theaters, though. So, but yeah, you're right, though, George. Like you said, by the time you hear this, if it's still out there, maybe it's only in the one theater now, but definitely get a chance to go see it.
You know what's interesting I've noticed is that now, movies come to streaming, but sometimes they'll stick in the theater for a while, even though they're in streaming. But like you said, Mo, they're just in one theater, maybe 2 shows a day, but they'll stick around just to try to milk you for a little more ticket money.
And it was one of the few movies I saw recently. The theater was full.
Oh, I was like, good for them.
I was like, wow. And I saw this like 2 weeks in. I was like, holy cow, this movie is still full. That's pretty awesome.
Yep.
So Sinners, definitely see it. So John, what do you got for us?
Oh, man. So this is a topic that I have been fascinated by forever. I didn't know they were making a film about it, but when they did, I'm like, I'm automatically going to be there. So the film is called The Luckiest Man in America. Okay. Now, I don't remember, we might have spoken about this a little bit back when we talked about game shows. We had a backtrack about game shows, but the film is all about, I see George nodding, which you can't hear on the podcast, but it's all about Michael Larson, who in 1984 was accused of cheating on Press Your Luck because he
that's what this was about.
Spinning. Yeah.
Oh, yes. Okay. I know what you're talking about now. Yes.
So the story, the top level story that this movie is based on is, this guy is a weird, nobody, kind of I call him a schlub, maybe, just like and he's kind of in trouble with the law once in a while and child support. I don't know, all kinds of crazy things. But he's a super fan of Press Your Luck, and he's watched VHS tapes of it, and he's figured out the mechanical. We're talking about mechanical games a second ago in Jimmy's email. He figured out the mechanical sequence of lights on the Press Your Luck board. So when he made it on the show, he was able to just go and go and go and win.
Oh, that's right.
Like $100,000 or something. I forget. It was an insane amount, and the network was going apeshit about it. So I always found that story interesting. He was accused of cheating, is learning the system, cheating, all that. They don't even really dive into that much. It's really about the people. And the actor they got to play Michael Larson, I was talking to George a little bit before the show, one of my new favorite actors, Paul Walter Hauser. You might recognize him. He's in Cobra Kai. He was Richard Jewell in that Clint Eastwood film about the Atlanta Olympic bombing.
Okay.
Yeah. Who does he play in Cobra Kai, George? You mentioned his name. Stingray, yeah.
Yeah.
He is, like, you look at him and you're like, is he really an actor? Is he a movie star? Because he just looks like a kind of a heavy set, short, dumpy guy with a neck beard, but he is so talented that I love him. Not for nothing. Walton Goggins, also in this film, a great actor. We've seen a lot of stuff lately. And what they really do is they follow, we've all heard the story of what happened. So what you get to see in this, it's not a documentary. It's like a docudrama, a dramatization of what happened. You follow this guy walking in, trying to get an audition on the show, but then you see behind the scenes of the people losing their minds and trying to figure out what's going on in the control room.
How's he doing this?
Right. Like, what's going on? Why is this happening? Hey, and they try to talk. Goggins is he plays the host of the show. Like, he's like the
okay.
Yeah. So he's like hamming it up. Like, try to talk him into, cashing out and whatever. And he kind of nudges and tries, but he goes, no, I'm going to keep on spinning. And they're all losing their minds in the control room. There's no footage of that, but they're interpreting what might have happened. They're imagining from the back end. So it's this other side of a real life thing that you might not have you would never have known what happened in the back end. So they kind of dramatize and let you see a little bit of what they believe was going on based on the stories.
And if I'm correct, isn't it because, like, the computers back then, they weren't true random numbers, right? There was a certain pattern.
But there was no no computer involved.
Oh, there was no computer involved at all.
There was no computer involved in Press Your Luck. So Press Your Luck was electromechanical, just like those consoles that we're talking about in the fourth listener email. So those lights were all electrical, and they were sequenced on a pattern that was electromechanical behind the screen. And the little windows that lit up to reveal the prize when you lit it, they were literally just like the old kind of like the projectors that would flash through when we were in school, and you would see one slide after another. So almost like a backlit slide inside of each one, and they would just cycle.
That's right. Yeah, it's whatever light was on behind there. And I won't go into the whole story. Basically, he figured out, well, if I hit the button when I see this light up, even if he's a little late, the next 3 after that are not bad news. Like, they're not a whammy. It's either spin again or win money or win a prize. But if he hits the button after these 2 lights flash, he knows he's going to hit one of these 3 things. And they don't even talk about that. They don't talk about how he figured it out. They don't talk about that. It's literally the back end, the other side of the story you've never heard.
Nice.
So I know we got a lot of fourth listener email when we did that game show Backtrack. And if you enjoy game shows and that era of game shows in the, I guess, 80s, 70s, 80s, whatever, I really enjoyed this. Again, it's not a documentary, but it feels like seeing the backside of a documentary fictionalized. I really enjoyed it. I saw it in the theater, and I would recommend it. Luckiest Man in America. You can see it probably streaming by now. You can probably check it out. All right, George, how about you round out this media segment? What have you been checking out?
Yeah, so we went from fictional to docudrama to now straight documentary.
There we go. Okay.
I'm a huge Boston Celtics fan, have been from when I was a young little kid. Larry Bird first came into the NBA in 79. Always went with the Celtics over the Lakers because Celtics were East Coast and Lakers are West Coast. And, there was a lot of propaganda going on, which I totally understand that I probably got sucked in by, of Larry Bird, and all this, that, and the other. This Celtics City documentary, which was created and hosted on the streaming platform Max, which is owned by HBO, which, by the way, is the same group that put out the Winning Streak or whatever it was called, the one that was the docudrama for the Lakers side of this same story, right?
Yes. You talked about that, right? I remember.
Yeah. It was the docudrama. Now, that was centered specifically on the Magic Johnson era of Laker basketball.
Okay.
This Celtic City is the entire breadth of the Boston Celtics. So from the very first days of Red Auerbach first becoming the coach, all the way through to today and the championship that they won last year, which was the 18th banner, which allowed them to now be the only franchise with that many championships in the history of professional sports in America. This documentary, it has like 9 episodes, I think, or maybe 10 or something like that. But if you're a Boston Celtics fan, you're going to cry in almost every episode. If you hate the Boston Celtics, you might gain a little bit of respect for the organization and the players, because they go into a lot of not just what the basketball organization did and what the players did, but also society around the team, and specifically the city of Boston, because as we know, there's a huge history of racial tension in Boston. It's been called at times the most racist city in America and the least racist city in America, depending upon your viewpoint. This documentary, it does a good job of telling those stories through the lens of sports.
Nice.
I have a question for you, and I promise this is not a gotcha. You don't have to have a good answer, but I'm very curious because you laid this out and you said, well, hey, if you're a huge fan of the Celtics, you're probably going to tear up. If you're not a huge fan of the Celtics, you're going to learn something. Do you think there's anything in this series for someone who just isn't a fan of the sport at all? Or are there threads of this documentary series that are worthwhile to someone who doesn't care about the sport or sports in general like me?
I would hope that there's this one thread, and I'll just give a brief synopsis of it. So if you're not a sports fan, you probably don't really know the name of Bill Russell. No. If you're a sports fan, especially a basketball sports fan, you will absolutely 100% know the name of Bill Russell. Mo probably knows because New York hates Bill Russell for reasons.
It's a love-hate. You have to admire the skill.
But Bill Russell was not just a sports figure. Bill Russell was a human rights activist figure. So he was instrumental in the whole Cassius Clay, Muhammad Ali stuff that was going on. There was a meeting of top black sports athletes of the day. Jim Brown, Cassius Clay, and Bill Russell was one of those athletes at the time that all came together because they were really trying to advocate for to abolish the human atrocities that America was still embroiled in the 60s and 50s. Okay. Now, this man, Bill Russell, I'll just give you just a little brief synopsis. Not only did he do that, but while he did that, he won, I think it was 7 championships in a row with the Boston Celtics. Wow.
He was so far above everybody else.
No other professional franchise has even come close to that. Even the Patriots, who are the one in Kansas City right now, if they get to 3 in a row, people lose their shit. The Celtics did 7. So let's just put the bed to rest as to which is the most storied franchise in professional sports history in America. But at that same time, Red Auerbach retired as the coach and became the GM of the Celtics. And guess who became the coach for the next 2 championships? Bill Russell, player, coach.
That's cool.
He did both. That's unheard of. That has never really been done. Michael Jordan, even when Michael Jordan was a player in the NBA, he won those 6 titles with the Bulls. And then when he retired and then came back a little bit later as a GM player of the Washington team, his record went from 70% wins and 30% losses to 30% wins and 70% losses. And that's Michael Jordan.
He also excelled in the same way at baseball, didn't he?
Yeah, exactly. I would think that the Bill Russell humanitarian thread would be good for anybody who's not a sports fan. It's a great series. I highly recommend it. I understand that's a big grain of salt because I am a Boston Celtics fan. Right. But what I love is every episode starts off with a story being told by the modern day athletes, and then it goes back to the historical, and it has a lot of interviews of the time of all the major players. So you've got the John Havlicek's in there. You've got the Bill Russells in there. You've got Dave Cowens, who, John, by the way, went to your alma mater, FSU.
Did he?
Became a Boston Celtic champion. Yep.
All right.
So there's a lot in there for everybody to enjoy because the Celtics are a long-standing, storied franchise of professional sports.
Nice. Is it all wrapped up or is it still continuing?
It is all wrapped up. I don't see a way for there to be a season 2 because the last episode was all about the most recent championship win. Yeah, now, if they win a championship this year, maybe they can do an addendum.
Right. One more.
We'll see.
Nice. All right. Thanks. We'll stick around. We'll be right back.
Acura's all-new ADX, a compact SUV that isn't just built for one thing. It's precision crafted for everything. To escape the grind with available all-wheel drive. To go with your flow with available Google built-in.
Hey Google, turn it up.
Okay, turning up the volume. And crafted to be heard with an available Bang & Olufsen premium sound system. The all-new Acura ADX, crafted to match your energy. Acura, precision crafted performance.
Take your vibes and go.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC.
This podcast is supported by Progressive, a leader in RV insurance. RVs are for sharing adventures with family, friends, and even your pets. So if you bring your cats and dogs along for the ride, you'll want Progressive RV Insurance. They protect your cats and dogs like family by offering up to $1,000 in optional coverage for vet bills in case of an RV accident, making it a great companion for the responsible pet owner who loves to travel. See Progressive's other benefits and more when you quote RV insurance at Progressive.com today. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Pet injury is an additional coverage and subject to policy terms.
Be sure to subscribe to or follow Gen X Grown Up wherever you listen. And while you're there, rate and review the show too. It helps more than you know.
If you've got a lot of men to buy for, but not a lot of ideas, come to Sears. Save 50% on this Craftsman drill and circular saw or this Craftsman tool set. Need more ideas? This cassette car stereo is half price, and this Craftsman timing light is only $29.99. Plus, Sears has dozens of hardware gifts for under $15. Shall I go on?
There's more for your life at Sears.
All right, I'm going to kick off Tech and Toys today. So this is probably not an unusual thing, but I work at home most of the time. So I have a desk and I have a work laptop and I have a separate monitor that I use. But it's like I had the monitor propped up on like a box to make it high enough, and and I had my extra keyboard. It was just a mess. So finally, I said, okay, I'm gonna go do something, and I went out and I bought a laptop and monitor stand that mounts to your desk. It's like the bar that comes up and has the two arms. One holds your laptop, one holds your monitor.
Like the arms and everything. Like the I got a robot looking thing. Yeah.
And I tell you the truth, the thing that prevented me from getting one before is I was like, I don't want to spend that much money. I mean, that's what was going through my head. And I went to Amazon and they're like $30, $40.
Yep.
I was shocked. I was like, holy crap. Bought one. It was I'll put the link in. It was by a company called Huanuo. I don't know. It's a Chinese company.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah. It's made to hold like a 30-inch monitor and it's a standard laptop. And let me tell you, it went together fast. It's super rock solid. I mean, this thing is just rock solid. I can move the monitor around, which is nice because when I'm using it as like a workbench, I can just push everything back. I'm just upset that it took me this long to buy it.
Mo, I actually own that exact same mount.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I bought it probably 3-4 years ago for the other room in there, the studio. And then I changed it out for a different one that I have in there now. The only thing, and this one was susceptible to that as well, that I don't like about these things is the way the armature bends happen. Because if you decide to go with a 2-monitor setup as opposed to what you did with a monitor and laptop, when you try and put the 2 monitors close together, that bend in the elbow goes to the back. And if your desk is up against a wall,
it won't work.
It doesn't work.
No.
So that's why I've had limited success with these. Now, the one I have in there now is one of these dual monitor ones, and my wife is using it, but because her and my mother work together a little bit on some of this stuff, the monitors don't have to be right next to each other. But if you're a person who likes the 2 monitors right next together, just be prepared for that being a possible problem if your desk is up against a wall.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Well, my question then can be for both of you, since you both have one or have had one at one time or the other. So right now I have on my work desk here in the studio, I have like one of those tiny computers, one of the little bookshelf computers, like zip tied to the back of a monitor. And I've often wondered, it would be nice if I had the monitor, the whole thing assembly on an arm that I could move, like to get it out of the way. Because right now I slide it around the desk, as you can imagine. So you touched on this, Mo, but I really want to dig in more and push you on it to understand. You say that the rock solid, it stays put. How difficult is it to adjust it and push it out of the way? How many elbows do you have to unscrew or loosen or tighten or whatever? So if I want it here most of the time, but maybe 25% of the time I want an entirely different place, how much of a pain will it be for me to adjust back and forth like that?
As far as just like sliding it back and forth and even tilting it a little bit, that's it. You can just do that anytime. Just grab the monitor and you could just adjust it.
Okay.
So when I'm not using it for work, I just push it and just goes back as far as against the wall as I can, and then I'm fine. Now, if you want to tilt it a lot, there is a hex wrench that you have to loosen the thing if you want to like really tilt it. Right. But for like little adjustments, I don't have to do anything for it. I can just move it.
I think the place where you might have an issue, John, that's all horizontal movement. Vertical movement on these devices, it's locked in on that central pole.
I see. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah.
And those arms don't have powered gaskets to let you raise the monitor out of your way or lower it down.
Yeah.
They don't really do that. They're solid, flat pieces that have a couple of joints in them usually.
Yeah.
So like you said, it sounds like this is a good solution depending upon your environment. Right? So if it's up against a wall, you have to do this thing. It wasn't right for George. If I have to move it vertically, maybe it's not right for me. But in most situation, it's just about a perfect fit. So it worked out.
It was totally perfect for what I needed.
And for $30, can't complain.
Yeah. So that's what I got. How about you, John? What do you got for us today?
It's going to start sounding not very surprising, and then it's going to become very surprising. So when I say I've spent a little time over the past week playing with a vintage video game console, what else is new, John? Of course you're playing with it. But it is something a little bit unique in that. So I work with a friend of mine who does design work for gadgets to modify your gaming. He makes like expanders for the paddles, or he makes grips for controllers and stuff. And one of the projects he wanted to work on was a controller refurb kit for Nintendo Entertainment System gamepads. And normally when he launches his stuff, he's like, John, would you like to launch it on your YouTube channel? Because you have content. And I love working with him. I'm like, sure, but I don't have an NES. He's like, you know what? I have a spare one that I just refurbished and just got in good shape that I want to donate to you for all the help you've been giving me with my Etsy store. So my buddy Paul shipped me an NES, Nintendo Entertainment System,
nice.
2 game pads, the control deck.
Oh, sweet.
But not just it, but also he has gone through it. He's had it apart. He's put a new cartridge slot in it. He recapped it. Whatever you do to all these things. And it might surprise you to hear, this is the first NES I have ever owned.
Really?
Never had. And I've touched it, right?
Yeah, that didn't surprise me totally. Yeah. We were all from the era where the Atari, Television, ColecoVision were our consoles. Yep. And we kind of rode those because as we got a little bit older, maybe we weren't doing those as much. And we moved into PCs when everybody else was starting out with Nintendo Entertainment Systems.
That's right. Yeah.
But the NES was super popular, though. I mean,
of course. Oh, ridiculous. Yeah. But I've called it my girlfriend's little brother's game system, right? Which is both a way to think of it, and it literally was my exposure to it was my girlfriend's little brother. Right? I was in high school, and I was, I had a computer and whatever I was playing with, and PCs, like you said. I just never had a reason to buy an NES. I didn't jump back into consoles till the Super Nintendo. So this was my first ever NES. So this is the first one I've had in my hands, on the desk, plugged in. And it also, he sent it along with the combo Duck Hunt Super Mario Brothers game, which is the typical prototypical game that you would have with NES. And I hooked it up really just to shoot some footage of me playing it. But after I got it hooked up, I sat here in the studio playing a whole bunch of Super Mario Brothers. Now, I've played Super Mario Brothers in emulation plenty. Not that I know it well, but if you're going to emulate NES, you're going to play Mario, right? So, but it really is true. People talk about it a lot, and and some people go, it's the same, emulation's the same thing. There is just something about sitting there in the physical box. There's that hum of the electronics. There's the fuzz of the TV. It even has AV cables, but still, even the AV, it's a little bit grainy because it's on a tuning into your television, and having the real gamepad in your hand. And I had more fun playing this. What is it? 30, 40-year-old game now, Super Mario Brothers. I had more fun playing it the other day for an hour than I've ever had with it before. And I credit that all to the fact that I was sitting with the real hardware in front of me. It was just a different kind of experience than emulating it. It really was. Yeah, they're super cool systems. And I think the controller for the NES doesn't get enough credit. I really I even have an 8-bit DOE replica controller that I can use for USB onto my system playing emulation. But I think my only NES experience was renting one from a Blockbuster type of video store. It wasn't Blockbuster at the time, but that was where I got just a little bit. And I remember the games, they were simple. They were not nearly as graphically advanced as the arcade was even at that point, but they were engrossing and mesmerizing. And that pro wrestling game that was on the NES, to this day, that's one of my favorite games. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, how did you hook up to your TV? What did you use for that? So it has AV cables. It has one yellow and one red cable. You just plug right into the AV. Yeah. So, you can hook it up like an old Atari with the RF tuner if you want, but it has AV cables as well. So that's how I hooked it up. Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. And it still is a little grainy even with that, but I think that's part of the charm. It's part of the reason you run filters and emulation to simulate a TV with bad tuning because it feels more like the real thing. Yeah. Looks great. So that's cool. Huge thanks to my buddy Paul for helping me out with that and filling a gap in my 80s arcade and console history that I just never had before, and it's been fun to explore. So thank you to Paul. Each episode of Gen X Grown Up has show notes loaded with links where you can learn more about our topics. And there's even more to see and hear over at GenXGrownUp.com.
Is he gonna eat Jif too?
Sure. It's gotta be Jif for my guys. Or girls.
The difference is just being none of your taste. But sassy means the world to me.
I'll teach him to make the Jif all gone.
It's the nutty one for your special one with a taste more peanutty.
I remember choosing the peanut butter for his first taste. I tried all the big brands, and Jif had more fresh roasted peanut taste.
Peanutty difference in Jif.
Do I have to share if he's a girl?
This is the main event of the podcast. For the 3 in attendance locally and the millions listening around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time!
All right, time to talk about games a little bit more than what we just did in the last segment. And I'm going to start off today because I want John to go last, because the game that he's going to talk about is one he just recently did a live stream on, and my wife watched it and she was kind of captivated by that game. So we'll get into that in just a minute.
Sure.
I'm going to start off with another one of these free games that I picked up through Amazon Prime, picking it up on Epic through the Prime free games. It's called Chouchel. I'm going to say it that way because it feels French to me when I play this game.
Chouchel. I was going to call it Chouchel.
Who knows? I don't really know. This is the same company that built the game that I talked about in the last the last episode that we did, where it was called Bontacula. They come up with the weirdest fucking names for these games, but they're deserving because the games themselves are very, very weird. Now, in that previous game, it was all about this little group of tree-dwelling creatures that had to go around and do different stuff on their tree because this bad entity was sucking the life out of their tree environment, right? Okay. In this game, it's this little orange guy with a hat that looks like an acorn, kind of like a beret almost, which is why I think it's French. But it's him and his little green jelly bean of a pet that seems to be like a dog cat kind of thing. And they are desperate to chase and I think eat a cherry.
Okay.
Right, exactly. Okay. It sounds like a very odd premise for a game. But what foils them getting the cherry every time is this giant monkey hand that comes down from the top of the screen, steals their cherry and drags it off the screen, and then they go chasing after. And so every screen that you approach is a problem-solving screen where you have to figure out how to get to the cherry. Sometimes you have to click on certain creatures to make them sing. Sometimes you have to bounce on creatures' heads. Sometimes you have to go inside creatures to get to your cherry.
Inside.
It's very strange and beautiful in the same way Bontacula or whatever the hell that name is of the last game that I talked about. This is a fun, distracting, play it for a little while, put it down type of game that you can come back to time and time again. And the reason why I keep coming back to it is it's just so goddamn charming. It makes me feel like the little girl in Despicable Me when she got the unicorn. It's so fluffy. It just makes me feel that way when I'm playing this game.
Mo, if I didn't know better, I would, from the description of this game, I would think that George has been experimenting with alcohol for the first time in his life. Because it kind of sounds like a drunk
it definitely seems,
It wouldn't be the first time, but.
No, wouldn't it be? Okay, maybe the second. It's rare.
First time in a while.
It sounds like a description. There's a monkey hand and there's a grape as a pet.
Going inside the creatures.
Yeah.
And it's a very odd game, but this company seems to thrive on that. So you can have a puzzling game, you can have a platforming game, you can have combinations of all these things, but they almost always seem derivative, right?
Yeah.
If it's a puzzle game, there's going to be shit to slide around and you're going to be looking for a picture
right.
Or you're going to be, turning a dial to solve a word or some shit. They're all kind of the same. You're going to be matching 3 tiles to shoot the sparks or whatever. Also, in this case, every game that I've played from this company so far, these two, they feel organic almost. Like, the tree and now this little orange guy with the acorn hat beret thing and his little cherry dog thing, whatever. It just feels very organic. It's a fun game. They're not terribly expensive even. I think they're like $15 or $20. They were on sale for a little while, but they're not horribly expensive. Yeah, like right now, this game by itself is $10. If you get it with the soundtrack and art book, then it's like $15, which the soundtrack is gorgeous. It's an awesome audioscape that they've done on this game, and the visuals are fun. So you might want to buy both. Honestly, I don't recommend that very often, but it's just that type of game.
Yeah,
cool.
I'm going to put a flag on it for the next time it's on sale or free, because I don't need new games to play. I have plenty, but
there's a good kind of game that you might be able to get this free right now with Amazon Prime, because that's where I got it from. So you might look back through your Amazon Prime free stuff, and it might still be available.
I keep forgetting to check that.
I know.
Well, if you were a member of our Discord server, GenXGrownUp.com/Discord, we had bots and people posting about free games all the time. So you don't have to forget. You can just click links from there.
And the post is like, click here to go claim it. Like it's a direct link. I see in that bot you've got. It works really well.
Anyway,
love it.
Like I said at the beginning of this, I wanted to briefly talk about that game. I know that Mo doesn't have a game to talk about, but John, I want everybody to get a chance to hear about the game that you played in a recent live stream, because it is like Shoe Shell. It's unusual. It's got a few typical elements as a platformer, but it's unusual in its execution of the platforming puzzle solving genre.
Yeah, no kidding. And I did a live stream, as you said. I'm going to give Mo the link to put in the show notes if you want to go and see this game played. But it's not French, so it's not Typoman, it's Typoman. Is that how you say it in French? Probably not. Typoman is the name. So typo, like I made a mistake typing, Typoman. That's the name of this game. And it's far from new. I want to say it maybe initially came out in 2013 or so. And the version I was playing that I picked up for, I think, $3.99 on some system, some service, because they had a revised edition. And that was even 2017 or something. Even that is quite old. But it is, as you say, a very unique premise. By appearance, it looks very much like something that you would have seen come out of Playdead Studios, like Limbo or Inside, that we've talked about here on the show many times. Very stark, very black and white with little bursts of color here and there, but mostly it's just very subdued. And you are this little character who starts the game out in this world that, in its kind of dystopian black and whiteness, is also littered with letters, like they're built into the world. Like ladders are a whole bunch of capital H's together. And the bottom of this pit, there's a bunch of capital A's that serve as the spikes if you fall in a pit.
Okay.
And even like broken buildings, you can see letters jutting out of the buildings. Like letters are intrinsically part of the universe, not just language to describe it. It's built in the world. And you start out as an O, just a rolling O. And within a few minutes... Yeah, not a zero. You're an O. And in a few minutes, you jump on an E. You pass past the word evolve. And when you hit the E, you join with the O, and it becomes like a chest, like a rib cage. And then shortly you have an H that's like legs you walk. And then you find this
weird
bent up R that serves as an arm, which, by the way, spells hero. That's the hero of the game, Hero. And you're working your way through. It's a platforming puzzle game. And like a Limbo or Outside, you work your way through these odd environments, trying to figure out the very thing George said is in all these games: drag the box and put this ladder here and move this over to make that jump. That is definitely part of it. But the way you accomplish things, like if I need to turn on a switch, in other games, you have to go and either find the lever so that you can throw the switch, or you have to go and find the handle so you can put it on the machine and turn it. In Typoman, I need to go find the letters O and N and set them next to it so the word on appears, and boom, the thing comes on. And they start to teach you right away how words are baked into this world. If I need to turn something, well, I need to put in the word TURN to turn it. Well, I have enough letters, maybe I can spell rotate or twist or whatever. There's a huge vocabulary. There's one scenario where I had a bunch of letters and I could type rise or raise or arise. Any of them would work. So I think back to, like, Mo, we played Deus Ex so much. We loved that game. Nothing like this game, but what it did have in common was more than one way to accomplish the same goal. And it's based on how you use letters, what letters are available to you, how you can bring them in. And then they add this twist about maybe an hour into the game where maybe I can't make the word I need to change what's happening in the world. But if I can make the opposite of it and I spell the word lie, L-I-E, it turns into a little robot who flips the letter. So if you type truth, he's going to turn it into false. You know, he's going to change the words, change the letters entirely. You have to really think outside the box with it. Plenty of platforming, plenty of puzzling. At the end of my live stream, I think I ran about 2 hours. I actually got to a part that was like supreme platforming. You had to really make a whole bunch of jumps because there was this fire rushing you. But most of the time, You can sit still and just analyze and think and build little words and see what do they do in the word. Sometimes they do dumb stuff. I typed the word RIP and a headstone fell and crushed me. Just stupid stuff like that. It is really creative, an entirely different way than your games you've been talking about, George, are, but in a way that that I've seen games tried, like I think of Scribblenauts, which I think was like a Nintendo DS game where you could write words and they would manifest a ladder or a truck or whatever you wrote, it would create. But this, you don't write the words to affect the world. The words live in the world. You actually pick up a letter F and drop it in a spot and it makes something happen. Really creative. And I can tell me how many people were watching that were like, I'd never heard of this. I'm going to buy it right now because they're like, this is so different and original.
So my wife and I were watching it in our living room, and I was on my phone so I could chat a little bit, and we were watching it. And then you got to this one part where you had 3 letters on one level, and then the fourth letter was on the right-hand side, and you were talking yourself through, I don't know what to spell here. And my wife and I are both screaming at the screen, it's this other letter, you need to get it over here, and so you can spell this word, because we can see it. And any game that makes people scream at the screen is probably going to be a good game, in my opinion.
It grabbed you, huh?
What really gets me is I clicked on your link that you're going to give to Mo for people to go buy this on Steam. Do you know they have a bundle of this with InSound or SoundMine or InSoundMine or whatever that game was that we used to play that was very disconcerting and all the tapes and everything? Those two companies they're separate. They're not the same company, but they're bundled together.
Okay. I noticed that. What an odd mix of games.
Right, but I could see myself playing these 2 games in a weekend. That's a great bundle, truthfully, that would make me happy the whole weekend. I play one on Saturday, the other one on Sunday, and then go back and play it. Those are both great games.
You got your chocolate in my peanut butter.
Right.
I was looking at this game. It's not a new game.
That's what I'm saying. It's at least 10 years old.
Yeah, it came out 2016. I was like, holy crap.
Yeah. Well, I guess almost 10 years old. Yeah. Well, no, I think 2016 is, like I said, that's the revised edition. I think it's even older. But you know what? If you haven't played it, it's new to you, and it was new to me.
True, absolutely.
Yeah, it's really good. I recommend you at least take a look at the live stream or go, watch a video of it or something. If you like those kind of other platformers, and like I do, like we do, might be right up your alley. So check it out.
Nice.
If you're a die-hard Gen X grown-up, you can pledge your support by clicking join on YouTube or by becoming a patron at genxgrownup.com/Patreon.
El Paso, a taste that's new. Pass the old El Paso. Now it comes frozen too.
Look for Old El Paso frozen entrees in your grocer's freezer.
Pass the old El Paso. Try a taste that's new. Pass the old El Paso. Pass the old El Paso.
All right, as we round out the last segment of the show, we always like to pause here to talk about the things we're either looking at now or looking forward to between now and the next time we get together. And Mo, let me start with you. I want to know what you have on the horizon.
Sure. New season of Poker Face. That's the show with Natasha Lyonne that she's basically that she can always tell when someone's lying. Yep. And what's really cool about this show is that it's set very much like in 70s weekly detective show format. Like even the text and the words and stuff are still like the same. So it's a cool show. So I'm looking forward to the second season of that, which is already out in Peacock right now.
Okay.
And the 15th of May on FX is Welcome to Wrexham. The new season is coming. Really looking forward to that. I know you can't miss the news about what happened, but I like to see how they got there.
Well, you can if you're John, who doesn't follow sports.
That's true. That's true.
It's easy. Yeah.
But again, it's just a charming show. It's a it's just a nice show to watch. It's a nice palate cleanser. Lets you know the decent people in the world. So it's a good show to watch. What I'm really looking forward to, though, is that, which I just totally caught me off guard, is that on the 25th of May on Adult Swim, Rick and Morty, new season. Season 8's coming.
That's still going on?
Still going on.
Okay.
They just take a really long time between seasons, apparently. I guess they have a successful show. They can do whatever they want. But again, it's just a weird, funny show. It's just so bizarre. I just watch every single one. So just looking forward to that. So that's what I got. How about you, John?
Yeah, I got some stuff coming up, mostly media. I'm always a sucker for a true crime documentary series. So coming out on May 11th, which is, I guess by the time you hear this, it's out now on Investigation Discovery ID and also on Max, called The Bakersfield 3, A Tale of Murder and Motherhood. I just didn't dig into it too much, but again, it's one of those true crime things. And when I find them, I always go and watch those because you never know how good or bad they are, but at least you know it's captivating because you're like, oh, this really happened. So I always enjoy it. I am somewhat looking forward to the new live action Lilo and Stitch, May 23rd in theaters. I'm not a big fan of the live action remakes of stuff.
Me neither.
And the irony is so much of the live action is CG anyway. It's not live action. So it really, I guess parts of this are, just Stitch isn't. But my wife is a bonkers Stitch fan. You know, she's got the Stitch blanket and the Stitch stuffed animal and flippers and everything. So I don't know what her attitude is toward it, but we're probably going to need to see it. So I'm looking forward at least to see what comes out of it. So.
I heard somewhere that they're doing some of these things to save their IP also. Like by doing this movie, it extends the IP out longer for Lilo. I don't know if that's the case, but I don't know. That's the only reason I could come up with because it doesn't seem like they're good movies.
A lot of investment to protect your IP.
Right. I think they're just out of ideas and we turn cartoons into people now. That's all there is.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. We see a Lion King, Cinderella, Snow White, all those things. The third thing I've said the last couple of times, I'm going to keep saying it till we get there, and that's the Southern Fried Gaming Expo coming up in Atlanta, June 20th through the 22nd. I look forward to that every year. I'm so excited to go. And of course, if you want to attend, we'll all be there running some panels. We'll be there playing games all weekend long. If you're going to be able to go in the Atlanta area, head over to GameATL.com. You can use the promo code GenXGrownUp, all one word, and save $5 on your ticket. I know that Mo and George also amped to go.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. George, how about you? What do you got coming up other than SFGE, of course?
Well, just a brief note on SFGE. I just confirmed through one of the organizers there. You guys might have a problem getting me to the panels because the Evil Dead pinball machine is going to be making an appearance at SFGE thanks to Spooky Pinball's participation. So
George is going to bike lock himself to it. So
I might just have to have pizza delivered to the pinball machine because I might not leave. I've been wanting to play that damn thing forever since it got released. Anyway, stuff I'm looking forward to. First off, Mission Impossible Final Reckoning on May 23rd. This is the sequel to the Part 1 Dead Reckoning that came out in, 2023, I think, 2 years ago.
I totally forgot about what happened in that movie.
Yeah, I got to rewatch that
I'm just looking forward to it to be done with it at this point, really. I just want to be done with the Mission Impossible franchise. I think there's like 7 or 8 films in that damn thing. Lego Masters Season 5 over on Fox, May the 19th.
Always a fun.
That's always a fun series, good heartfelt stories. They do a lot of fun stuff with Legos. So most of us from our generation are big fans of Legos. I don't think you could go wrong by watching that show. But the thing that I'm looking forward to the most right now, believe it or not, is Karate Kid Legends. So this is the new movie that's the Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio. I know a lot of people are split on that because a lot of people don't.
I'm going to see it. I mean, come on.
A lot of people don't think that the Jackie Chan is Karate Kid universe, but in the trailers, I got the distinct impression that Mr. Han, Jackie Chan's character, knew Mr. Miyagi.
Yeah.
And so there's something going on there. And of course, he brings a student to Ralph Macchio to help put him on the right path and all this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I know Will Smith, and there's a lot of controversy and stuff. He was involved heavily in the Jackie Chan film with his son and producing and all like that. But, we're done with Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai is over. We can't get it back unless you rewatch it, but you're never going to get a new episode. I'm just super happy that this storyline and arc and character world and universe gets to continue on because it's one of my favorites from when I was a kid. I think a lot of people in our generation really loved the Karate Kid movies.
Oh, yeah.
I know a lot of people in this generation liked the Cobra Kai storylines and series on Netflix or wherever. It started off on YouTube, of all places, if you remember right.
That's right. Yeah.
I just think this is going to be a fun movie. If you go into it not being too critical or protective of your memories. It's what I learned after Battlestar Galactica's Reimagined series. I didn't watch that thing for 2 seasons because I was like, no way Starbuck is a girl. That's bullshit. I have learned through that series to accept all things on their own merits and give them a fair chance. And that's what I'm going to do with Karate Kid Legends on May the 30th.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. That snuck up on me too. I heard it was coming and then all of a sudden it's coming this month. I'm like, holy crap, that's snuck up on me. All right. Before we wrap up the show, I want to thank a brand new patron. But before I do, one of the many benefits you get of supporting us over on Patreon is the opportunity to ask a question that all three of us will answer here on the show. And Mo, have you got a question from a Patreon supporter?
Yeah, this question is from Matt. And this one, I told you guys about this question early because I said this is going to take some thought. So I give you a big heads up on this one. So the question is, you have a chance to go back and relive a day of your youth. And I'm basically taking that through high school, like up to your high school. You can't change anything. You're just reliving it exactly the way it happened. What day would that be and why?
Yeah. Okay.
And it was tough to come up with one, but I did. So who wants to go first? How about you, John?
I don't mind. Yeah, I can go first. It was kind of tough to come up with one because you can't change it is the thing. Right. Like, there were plenty of things like I'd go back and fix, or I'd go back and do better, or maybe I'd go back and undo. But if you just the way that Matt really framed it, it really just becomes more of a relive, like you're watching a good movie again, re-experience something. And so I don't think I could pick a single one, but I could narrow it down. Look, if somebody walked up with a time machine and he said, here it is, I'd pick one, but it's probably going to be one of some Saturday in high school when I was off on a marching band competition. Oh, okay. So I really loved marching band when I was in high school. It was a big part of it was my free time. It was my hobby. It was my identity. All my friends were there. And with a marching band too, if you have a good one that we had, it's kind of, there's a sense of cohesion and camaraderie it's like a super watered down version of, I can imagine, like people in the military in the same squadron or something, right? Because it's none of the danger, of course, of anything like that. Don't mean to minimize that, but you're all working together toward a common goal, right? And what you do affects your buddy next to you, and you try to do things to save him. It's a great sense of camaraderie that I loved in marching band in high school. So, and the great thing about a competition is you go all day long with your friends for marching band. You see other bands, and you travel on a bus and do all that stuff. And I remember some of the best days in high school for me were when we would go off on an all-day marching band thing, and I would just go back and relive that. And the thrill of performing again and stuff gives me chills now thinking about it. Just to get those chills back would be fun. So yeah, I'd go back to some marching band competition.
Cool. Hey, George, you want to go?
Well, I have a question first before I do.
It would not be a thing without you having a question.
Yeah. Well, so do I need to give the John PG answer, or should I give the George rated R answer?
George, be yourself. Be true to yourself, man. That's all I can say.
I don't think this podcast can be released. I think the FCC would shut it down if I give the be true to myself answer.
Well, I've got a beep button in case I need it, so go ahead.
Well, your beep button would get worn out, sir. It's not going to make it this whole time. Now, I'll go with the PG answer. John is right. The caveat that you can't change anything modifies what I would do, because there's a lot of days that I would go back in my youth and change.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Not just my own actions, but circumstances or other people's actions or different things that I would try and change. If I can't change anything and I want to go back to a day, of course, I want to go back to a happy memory.
Right, exactly.
One of the happiest memories that I have that just kind of, I don't know, it's just kind of happy because it centers around an accomplishment that I didn't get to pursue later in life, but it was the first sign that I had something different than other people. And that was when I won Defensive Player of the Year in Little League. So, nice. Little League it's usually the second league, at least in my area, when you're doing real pitching to the players. And what I say that is you have your Atom League, which is usually T-ball in this area. And then you have Cub League, which is like the very first pitching, but you're not really controlling anything. It's just a kid in the field throwing the ball as close to the plate as he can get it, where a coach is standing there, and they're not necessarily calling balls and strikes. But Little League, which is the Little League World Series and everything, that's when stuff gets really serious.
Yeah, it's like real baseball.
Yeah, it's like real baseball. And it was when I took over things like play calling, field adjustments, all of that stuff. I studied heavily, all the opposing teams. And granted, this is, 12, 13 years old, something like that. So yeah, I'm really young. And I'm not saying I did it professionally, but I did it to the best of my ability. And outside of getting named to AAU teams, traveling teams, all-star teams, all that kind of stuff, which happened, getting a singular award like that, especially as a catcher, because the catcher is kind of the mastermind on a baseball field and is key to defense in baseball.
Sure.
That was really important to me. It showed me for the first time I had something that I could use to possibly take this to a professional level. Now, one of those days that I would go back and change prevented that later in my life.
Yeah.
But that's the day that I would go back to and relive if I couldn't change anything.
No, that's great. Nice. Yeah, this took a lot of thought for me too, because it's like you guys said, like had to be a happy memory and a whole bunch of stuff. And what I kind of came down to was a day I cut school in high school, which is to sound weird, but the reason why
it was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, wasn't it?
It was just that basically it was like we had certain things like in the morning. Me and my dad always drank coffee in the morning and talked. You know, that was the thing we did every single morning during the week. That, you know, my dad's no longer here, and I would just love to relive that part one, just to have that experience again. Just talk about the news, whatever. I mean, we just talk about whatever. Then it was like me and my two best friends, we would cut school, we go down to Chinatown, get bows, you know, those buns, get a cup of coffee, go to South Seaport, hang out again, just BS for a while, go to somebody's apartment, we play Dungeons and Dragons or something like that until school ended, right? And then we'd have to leave. And then usually at that point, then I would meet my brother David and we'd go do dinner or something like that, which also my brother David's not here also. But again, it's like nothing special necessarily, but there were just so many of those moments that, you know, I wish I could go back and just have a super clear memory again of them, because it's just feelings right now, like not specifics, if that makes sense.
Like at the time it was mundane,
but
exactly. now there's a special significance that you wish you had paid more attention at the time.
Exactly.
I get it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I said I wouldn't change anything. The day could go exactly the same. I just, you know, just the fact that I could be more aware of what was happening and just sort of appreciate it more at the time. So that's probably the day I would go back to.
That was a deep question and good answers.
It was. Yeah, great question, Matt. But again, for all our listeners out there, if you would like to give us a question, it's super easy. Just go to GenXGrownUp.com/Patreon. Little's $1 a month. Send me your question and we'll probably answer it right here on the show.
That's right. Speaking of, I want to thank a brand new patron, James, also known all over the comment section on YouTube as Rip Van Xer. He's a Gen Xer as well. I guess he's sleepy. I'm his Rip Van. I don't know. He's been a long time follower. And just recently, he headed over to patreon.com/GenXGrownUp. As you said, Mo, opened up his wallet and his heart simultaneously and made a financial pledge to support what we do in a long term on a recurring pledge. And James, I want to thank you so much. And you are part of a growing and amazing army of people who do what you do and support what we do here on the podcast, over on YouTube, on the website, and everywhere else that we put stuff out, social and stuff. So thank you so much for joining us. We so appreciate that you did. That is going to wrap it up for this edition of the show. Don't worry, though, if you were worried at all, don't worry. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with a brand new one. Next week is our backtrack. And I got to tell you guys, this backtrack coming up, I'm going to be talking so much you're going to have to interrupt me in the middle of the backtrack, because we're going to talk about the mythical, amazing 1981 board game by Milton Bradley. It was just printed for 1 year, then it went away. Dark Tower. Oh, it was on my bucket list forever. I kicked the bucket, got one, thanks to someone on this show. I love that game. We're going to talk about its history, how it's had its ongoing legacy, and what it's like to play it. So whether you know Dark Tower or you've heard of it or want to find out what the big deal is, we're going to talk all about it next week. That's coming up on the backtrack. Cool. So hope you will join us for that one. I'll definitely be there, and maybe I'll let George and Mo speak a little bit as well.
We'll try.
All right. Hope to see you then. Until then, I am John. George, thank you so much for being here, man.
Yes, sir.
Mo, you know I appreciate you.
Always fun, man.
Fourth listener, it's you we all appreciate most of all, though. And we can't wait to talk to you again next time. Bye-bye.
See you guys.
Take care, everybody.
No life, no fun. Don't you know that you're a grown-up?
GenXGrownUp is a member of the Evergreen Podcast family. Learn more at evergreenpodcasts.com.
No more watching shows till sunrise. Unacceptable for grown-ups. Your dinner cannot just be french fries. Basically, life sucks as a grown-up.
Promo in 5, 4, 3. Oh, I deleted the first part. I know what to say. I just realized I wasn't there. In 5, 4, 3. Coming up in this, what do I say? Coming up in this, in this episode of Jinx, I got it. In 5, 4, 3.